Before you decide what something is worth, your brain usually gets ambushed by the first number it sees. A jacket says $200. Crossed out. Now only 89. And suddenly, 89 feels like a steal. Not because you calmly analyze the fabric quality, or the stitching, or the brand, or the long-term value like some peaceful financial monk. No, your brain saw 200 first. It grabbed that number like a mental handrail, and then it started judging everything from there. That first number became the anchor, and once the anchor drops, your judgment starts drifting around it. Here's the weird part. The anchor does not even have to make sense. A random number can do it. A fake discount can do it. A starting salary. A limited time price. A suggested donation. A menu item you would never order. All of it can quietly change what feels expensive, cheap, fair, rude, generous, normal, or insane. That is the anchoring effect. And it is one of the sneakiest tricks in human decision-making, because it does not feel like manipulation. It feels like your own opinion. You think, I would never fall for that, which is adorable, because that is exactly what your brain says right before it falls for it. So today, let's talk about how one number changes everything you buy, why your brain is built to cling to that number, and how to stop walking into every price tag like a sleepy little wallet with shoes. Let's start with a tiny scene. You walk into a store. You do not have a clear budget. You are just browsing, which is what humans say about 2 minutes before making a questionable purchase. You see a pair of shoes for $180. Too much. You keep walking. Then you see another pair for $95. Suddenly, $95 feels reasonable. But if the first pair you saw had been $45, that same $95 pair would feel expensive. Same shoes. Same store. Same you. Different first number. That is anchoring in action. Your brain hates uncertainty, and value is full of uncertainty. What is a shoe really worth? What is a phone worth? What is a haircut worth? What is your time worth? Nobody knows instantly. So the mind does what it has always done. It grabs the first available clue and uses it as a starting point. Back when our ancestors were trying not to become lunch, fast guessing was useful. If someone said, there are 10 wolves near the river, you did not sit there and say, but what is the statistical confidence interval on these wolves? You adjusted your behavior around that first estimate. Better to overreact and live than demand perfect data and get eaten with your little logic notebook. The ancient brain was not designed for retail pricing, or salary negotiations, or online subscriptions, or real estate listings, or flash sales. It was designed to make quick calls under pressure. That old survival shortcut is still sitting in your skull. But now it is comparing air fryers on sale. And that is the trap. The brain uses the first number, not because it is true, but because it is available. A smarter question is, would this still feel like a good deal if I had seen no original price at all? Because the first number is not always information. Sometimes, it is bait wearing a little price tag. Now here's where it gets slightly rude. Anchoring works even when you know it is happening. Yeah, annoying, right? You can understand the trick. Spot the trick. Explain the trick to a friend. And still feel the pull. Because anchoring is not just a thought. It is a feeling of comparison. Imagine someone asks you, is the height of the tallest redwood tree more or less than 1,000 feet? You know that sounds high. Then they ask, so how tall do you think the tallest redwood actually is? Your guess will probably be higher than if they had first asked. Is it more or less than 200 feet? The first number leaves a fingerprint. Same thing happens when you shop online. You see a laptop listed at $1,500, marked down to $900. Your brain goes, wow, $600 off. But here's the tiny little goblin question hiding in the corner. Was it ever really worth $1,500 to you? Retailers know this. That crossed out price is not decoration. It is psychological furniture. It gives your brain a couch to sit on before it makes a decision. And once your brain gets comfortable on that couch, good luck getting it to stand up. A better move is to cover the original price for a second. Then ask, what would I pay for this based on my life? My needs? My budget? Not the store's fantasy number. Not the brand's dramatic before price. Your number. Because the moment you let someone else set the first number, they have already started writing the story your brain is about to believe. Anchoring does not only live in stores. It is all over restaurants. Open a menu and there it is. The giant steak for $90. Just sitting there like a financial jump scare. Most people will not order it. But that is not always the point. Its job is to make the $42 pasta feel chill. The expensive item becomes the anchor. It stretches the room. Suddenly, everything else looks smaller. Fancy restaurants do this beautifully. They place one wild option near the top. Maybe a seafood tower. Maybe a tasting menu. Maybe a bottle of wine that costs more than your electricity bill. You laugh at it. You roll your eyes. Then you order something that still costs more than you planned. But now, it feels responsible. That is the elegance of anchoring. It does not always push you toward the highest price. Sometimes it simply makes a middle price feel safe. And we love the middle. The middle feels balanced, mature, sensible. Like we are wise adults who own reusable water bottles. This comes from another survival habit. Humans are social animals. We avoid extremes because extremes can be risky. In a tribe, being too bold could get you hurt. Being too cheap could make you seem uncooperative. Being too extravagant could make others suspicious. So the middle often feels psychologically safe. Companies use that comfort zone with pricing tiers. Basic plan, pro plan, elite plan. Most people do not want basic. It feels limited. They do not want elite. It feels excessive. So they pick pro. Exactly where the company gently placed the profit. Try flipping the frame. Ask yourself, which option would I choose if the other two were not shown? That one question breaks the little stage play the pricing page is performing, because sometimes the middle is not the best choice. It is just the place they built a fence around your confidence. Now let's talk about discounts, because this is where anchoring puts on sunglasses and starts acting like your best friend. You see 70% off, and your brain lights up like it just found treasure in a cereal box. 70% off what, though? That is the part we often skip. We focus on the distance between the original number and the sale number. The bigger the drop, the better it feels. Not always because the item is useful, or durable, or worth owning, but because the gap itself feels like a win. This is why people buy things they did not want 5 minutes ago. A blender, a jacket, a random course, a kitchen gadget shaped like a dolphin. The deal becomes the product. You are not buying the thing anymore. You are buying the feeling of beating the price. Tiny pause here, because that sentence deserves to sit in the room for a second. A lot of impulse spending is not about ownership. It is about victory. Our brains are wired to respond to gains and losses. Getting a discount feels like gaining money, even when you are still spending money. That is wild. You hand over cash, and your brain still celebrates, because it compares the final price to the anchor, not to zero. Here's a smarter question to ask yourself. Would I buy this tomorrow at the same price without the sale timer yelling at me? If the answer is no, you may not want the item. You may just want the emotional confetti around the item. A discount is only a discount if you were already going to buy the thing. Everything else is just a cheaper mistake. Anchoring also messes with how we judge quality. And this one is subtle. Take 2 bottles of wine. One says $15. One says $60. If you are not a wine expert, there is a good chance the $60 bottle will taste better to you before it even touches your tongue. Not because you are fake. Because expectation changes perception. The price becomes an anchor for quality. Higher number means better experience. Your brain starts preparing a richer story. It expects depth, complexity, elegance, maybe a tiny note of I am financially sophisticated now. Then the taste arrives, and your mind interprets it through that expectation. This happens with headphones, skincare, coffee, hotel rooms, gym memberships, even online courses. Expensive can feel premium before the product proves anything. And yes, sometimes expensive really does mean better. Better materials, better service, better design, better support. We are not pretending all prices are imaginary, but the danger is letting the number do the thinking. Before the product earns the respect, evolutionarily, this makes sense. In uncertain environments, visible signals mattered. A stronger tool, better shelter, healthier food, higher status allies. Signals helped humans make quick choices. The modern marketplace hijacks that habit. With polished packaging and confident pricing, a better question is, what exactly improves when the price goes up? If you cannot name the improvement, you may be paying for atmosphere, not substance, because premium is real when value increases. Otherwise, it is just a number wearing perfume. Now, slide this into negotiation, and things get spicy. The first number in a negotiation can shape the entire conversation. Salary, freelance rates, used cars, rent, business deals, even splitting bills. Whoever sets the first credible number often pulls the discussion toward their side. Let's say you want to sell a used camera. You were hoping for $400. The buyer says, "Would you take $200?" Even if you reject it, your brain has now been dragged downward. Suddenly, $320 feels like a recovery, not a loss. But if you had opened with $550, the whole conversation would live in a different neighborhood. This is why lowball offers are powerful. They do not just propose a price. They move the mental battlefield. And this is why people get nervous about naming their rate. They are scared of going too high, so they start too low, hoping to seem reasonable. But that first number becomes a ceiling with mood lighting. Our evolutionary brain cares deeply about social acceptance. We do not want to seem greedy, or difficult, or delusional, so we soften our number to protect the relationship. The problem is, the market often does not reward quiet discomfort. It rewards clarity. Try preparing your anchor before the conversation begins. Decide your target number, your minimum number, and your walkaway point. Do this while your nervous system is calm. Do not calculate your worth while someone is staring at you. Because in negotiation, the first number is not just math. It is gravity. Anchoring also shapes what we think is normal. And this might be the deepest part of the whole thing. The first price you see in a category becomes your mental reference point. If your first serious apartment search shows rent around $2,000, your brain starts building reality around that. If your first gym membership is $150 a month, then 80 feels cheap. If everyone around you spends $12 on coffee and a pastry every morning, that becomes just what breakfast costs. Normal is often just the anchor you stopped questioning. That is why moving to a new city can mess with your sense of money. A tiny apartment costs what a whole house costs somewhere else. And after a few months, your outrage gets tired. You adapt. The number becomes familiar. Familiar starts feeling acceptable. This is useful in survival. Humans adapt quickly because constant shock would drain us. If the environment changes, the brain updates its baseline so we can function. But in modern life, that same adaptation can quietly normalize things that are not good for us. Debt can become normal. Overwork can become normal. Paying too much can become normal. Being underpaid can become normal. Stress can become normal. Little reality check. Just because you got used to something does not mean it stopped costing you. A better way is to compare across wider frames. Look at different neighborhoods, different brands, different lifestyles, different ways people solve the same need. Give your brain more than one anchor, so it does not worship the first one it met. Because when your baseline is borrowed, your choices are never fully yours. Anchoring also loves urgency. A countdown timer appears. Only 4 hours left. Only 2 seats remaining. Price increases tonight. Suddenly, the number in front of you feels heavier because time is squeezing it. The anchor becomes emotional. Now you are not just asking, is this worth the price? You are asking, will I regret missing this? And that is a totally different mental room. Scarcity wakes up the survival brain. Limited resources used to matter a lot. If food was disappearing, shelter was limited, or opportunity was rare. Hesitation could hurt you. Modern marketing borrows that old alarm system and attaches it to software subscriptions. Chill, ancient brain. It is a webinar replay, not the last berry bush on Earth. The problem is that urgency reduces your ability to evaluate value. You stop thinking in terms of fit and start thinking in terms of escape. You want relief from the pressure, and buying creates that relief. That is why it feels good immediately after clicking purchase. The pressure ends. Then later, when the emotional weather clears, you look at the receipt like, who invited this into my life? Here's a smarter question. Would this still matter to me if the deadline were next week? If urgency is the main reason you are buying, pause. Real value survives a calm mind. A timer can pressure a decision, but it cannot create genuine need. Now, anchoring is not only about money. It changes how you judge yourself. You see someone online say they wake up at 5, meditate for 40 minutes, run 10 miles, read 2 books, build a company, eat perfectly, and journal under moonlight or whatever. That becomes an anchor. Then your normal day feels lazy. You were fine 10 seconds ago. Then one inflated snapshot of someone else's life made your own life look smaller. Social media is an anchor machine. Views, likes, salaries, bodies, apartments, travel, productivity, relationship milestones. Everything becomes a number or image that tells your brain, this is the standard. Even if you know it is curated, you still compare against it. That is anchoring with a filter on. Evolutionarily, comparison helped us understand our place in the group. If others had more food, better tools, stronger alliances, that information mattered. But now, your comparison group is not your village. It is millions of strangers posting their cleanest 5 seconds. A better question is this a useful reference point? Or just a shiny way to feel behind? Not every impressive number deserves to become your ruler. Because the wrong anchor does not motivate you. It quietly teaches you to disrespect your own progress. So how do you actually fight anchoring? Not by pretending you are immune. That is rookie behavior. The move is to slow the first number down. When you see a price, a salary, a discount, a rating, a follower count, a deadline, or a comparison, pause before you let it become reality. Ask where it came from. Ask who benefits from you believing it. Ask what number you would have chosen before seeing it. You can also build your own anchors in advance. Before shopping, set a budget. Before negotiating, set your range. Before browsing apartments, research the market. Before buying tech, define what features you actually need. Before comparing yourself online, decide what progress means in your real life. That way, when the world throws a number at you, your brain is not empty-handed. And one more thing, make your anchor boring on purpose. Boring anchors save money. I will spend up to $60. I need this to last 2 years. My rate starts at this amount. I am not buying anything from a countdown timer today. These little rules sound simple, but they give your future self something solid to stand on. Because freedom is not having no anchors. Freedom is choosing which anchors deserve to hold you. And that is the whole game. The first number you see can make something feel cheap, expensive, fair, premium, normal, urgent, or impossible. It can make you overpay, undersell yourself, chase fake deals, compare your life to nonsense, and call it all my decision. But once you notice the anchor, the spell weakens. You start seeing the setup, the crossed out price, the expensive menu item, the best value plan, the lowball offer. The timer, the fake standard, the number that arrived before your judgment had a chance to breathe. And suddenly, you are not just reacting anymore. You are choosing. So next time a number hits your brain first, do not just ask, is this a good deal? Ask, what is this number trying to make me believe? That question alone can save you money, confidence, time, and a shocking amount of regret. Because your brain is not broken, it is just ancient, fast, and very easy to nudge. The goal is not to become some emotionless robot who calculates toothpaste purchases on a spreadsheet. Please do not become that person. The goal is to create one small space between the number you see and the value you accept. That space is where real control begins. If this made you look at discounts, menus, salaries, and online flexing a little differently, welcome to the club. This is your brain is tricking you. And honestly, it has range. Subscribe if you want more chill breakdowns of the weird mental shortcuts quietly running your life. And drop a comment with the last time a good deal got you to buy something you absolutely did not need. No judgment. We have all been emotionally tackled by a discount sticker. Peace out.